The world is 10 times as complex as your understanding of it. I am the Chris who plays games, and this is your CPG rant of the evening. As I look around the world, what I find is that people constantly think that they have the one answer. They think they have the one answer on healthcare or why the internet is broken. They think they have the answer on why YouTube is behaving in a certain way or the answers to why a certain person is behaving in a certain way. And the chances that they actually have that answer are almost none. Because the world is 10 times, or 100 times, or 1,000 times as complex as you think it is. When YouTube is slow, there are so many things that can go wrong between you and YouTube. It can be your ISP having problems in a local place to you. It can be problems with internet infrastructure carrying bits from you to YouTube. It can be problems on YouTube side with delivering bits from you to you. It can be a million different things. But there are two answers that everyone always assumes the case, and it almost never is the case. It's throttling or it's a DDoS. Every time. Every time someone thinks it's either throttling or a DDoS. Okay, that's not true. 1 out of 1,000 times someone assumes that we're replacing some hard drives. But in general, people always have these simplistic ideas built by many different articles they've read or things they've heard or whatever else like that. They've heard that ISPs are throttling traffic as part of net neutrality regulations, fighting against net neutrality regulations, but they aren't. Not really, not in the US. They've heard that ISPs are treating content providers unfairly, and so every time the internet breaks, even for 15 minutes, they assume that it's throttling. Well, no, it's not throttling. If it's affecting users only in one part of the country, and it's affecting users only on one ISP, do you really think that it's throttling? Really? Really? The world is 10 times as complex as you think it is. People tell me all the time, look, YouTube suspended me, and it's because because I did X, Y, or Z. It's because the user did this or that or the other, and YouTube shouldn't take me down for that or shouldn't take them down for that. And most of the time, I agree. They shouldn't. The thing that you're describing that you say could be completely unfair if YouTube took someone's content down for this, usually they haven't. They've taken it down for some other reason that you don't know, because you've made assumptions based on a limited set of information. And don't get me wrong, YouTube doesn't give you the full set of information, but it isn't the case that you know what's going on. The world is 10 times as complex as you think it is. Every time I look at legislation or discussion along those lines, I see people who think that they have the one solution. They look at complex political or social problems and think that there is a simple fix for something that has been worked on for decades. They think that they can walk in with almost no knowledge of the situation, begin the conversation, and propose a solution. They walk in with no experience in the field and no history or understanding of the problems that are actually being faced and think that they can fix it. But you can't. The reality is the world is a complex place, and most of the time really smart people are working as hard as they can on a problem in order to make it better. And so while sharing your experiences is 100% a useful thing to do, while sharing and making sure that that information is shared with people who can do something about it is entirely valuable, to walk in and propose an implementation and solution is a mistake. Because you don't get how hard it is. Because you don't know. I've been making this mistake all my life. I will come in and I will say, look, this is a really bad situation. I'd really like us to do X, Y, or Z to fix it, and find out that we can't do X because it's illegal, and we can't do Y because it won't fix the problem, and we can't do Z because we already tried it and everybody hated it. So I've adjusted how I react. Instead of telling people why it's broken, I tell people that it's broken. I communicate my experiences. I do my best to carry that information to people who can act on it. Because the people who can act on it are the ones with the most information about the problem. They're the ones who have the experience. They're the ones who can tell me all the ways in which it's gone wrong before, so I can help them figure out the way that we solve my want with their needs of running a service. My want with their needs of creating legislation. my want with their needs of the technical limitations that exist. Because when you start by proposing the implementation, as someone who has been on the other side, receiving end of so many of these, from social issues around LiveJournal and OpenLayers when I was working as a community manager, to technical solutions at all the companies I've worked for, from working as an open source developer to working as anything else in the world, when you come to me with an implementation that I know won't work, I have to explain to you why your implementation won't work, rather than just explaining to you what an implementation that might work would look like. And honestly, I don't always have time for it. And I don't always have the ability to. When people ask, why isn't YouTube faster? The same point applies. The world is 10 times as complicated as you think. When people ask, is it this, or is it that, or anything else like that, I get so angry, so frustrated, that I have to explain to you again and again and again, no, your ISP is not throttling you, YouTube just broke. And I'm sorry. I am. It hurts me when I see many users who are having problems watching YouTube, and I can see the data on the other side that explains to me exactly why, and I can't fix it. Because of the political or the social or the technical things that behind these things, it's not something that I can fix on the timescale that you want. What are you doing to fix this is a reasonable question, but I can't always tell you the answer because I can't always explain to you what's wrong because the world is 10 times as complicated as you think. I understand you're suggesting the 3 words that you know, DDoS and throttling and net neutrality. I guess that's 4 words, but I'm going to call net neutrality 1 word because it's a hashtag these days. They're telling me that it's obviously this thing. It's not obviously this thing. I understand the symptoms you're seeing. I can tell you why this is happening, but I can't tell you. And that sucks. But if you would take a step back and stop telling me I'm wrong, I could help you so much more of the goddamn time. The world is 10 times as complicated as you think. Give me a little bit of fucking credit. I'm the Chris who plays games. This has been your CPG rant of the evening.